Alright, hello everyone. Now I'm extremely late on this, but I finally got the chance to read through Boruto Two Blue Vortex, Chapter 8, It Doesn't Matter. So now we're gonna go ahead and just talk about it. I'm not gonna do a full read through like I did last time for the last chapter. I'm just gonna go ahead and just quickly skim through it and just give my thoughts on some of the stuff that happened. It's a very interesting chapter. Very interesting chapter. Not a lot happens, but there are some interesting questions that pop up during this. So let's go ahead and get started. So to begin with, the chapter starts with Boruto talking about how he's Mitsuki's son again, but we get to see it from Ada's point of view, as Ada is using her visual prowess to peer into the conversation. And essentially, Ada starts freaking out because she thinks it's super cool. Kawaki ends up knocking her back to her senses, telling her to quit basically just standing there and tell him where Mitsuki is, that way he can track down Boruto. Ada proceeds to go ahead and tell Kawaki where they're located, but Delta, who is there, as well as Damon, is with Ada and Kawaki. Delta's taking a lot of offense to how Kawaki is acting towards Ada, saying that he's being rude, a scumbag, and everything. And Ada just kind of tells him, or kind of just says, Delta, thank you, but continue to watch over Kawaki, you know, because this is dangerous. From Kawaki's point of view, this is a dangerous situation he's going into. He's going into a fight against Mitsuki and Boruto. We know that Boruto has gotten stronger than Kawaki, and it's something that Kawaki hasn't accepted yet. Plus, we know Mitsuki is at least on the level of Kawaki, because Mitsuki is the reason why Kawaki's not even there at the fight to begin with, because Mitsuki knocked him out in the previous chapter, or 2 chapters ago, technically. So, Ada basically just tells Delta, be careful, watch over Kawaki, and then they take off. And as Kawaki and Delta are flying towards this fight, Delta takes the moment to say, anytime Ada gives me the word, or basically Ada is tired of your shit, Kawaki, I'm gonna kill you myself. And Kawaki responds to a very interesting answer, which is, once I'm done with my goals, I'll go away on my own. So this further, I'm pretty sure, I might be thinking of the anime, but I'm pretty sure this is what this was said in the manga, whether it be in the time skip or previous, or pre-time skip. But I'm pretty sure Kawaki said that once he kills all the Ototsukis, he would also just kill himself, or get rid of his self. That way there would be no more Ototsukis left in the world. So it seems like he's still sticking to that idea, judging by what he said here to Delta, about how he'll go away on his own once he completes his goal of killing all the Ototsukis, which include Boruto, of course. Next, we cut to Shikamaru and Boruto talking about the tree grimes, and Boruto basically explaining to them that yes, they are becoming divine trees, but they're not at the point of destroying the planet yet, because they had to still either devour Kawaki or Boruto, since they are Ototsukis. But the tree grimes are going to go ahead and devour regular people as well, to use their chakras in order to stay alive, essentially. And because Shikamaru asked about Mogi, since she became a tree after a claw grime ate her, and Boruto says yes, they're using regular people's chakra to stay alive, but he's not exactly sure why they are doing that yet. And then Shikamaru asks Boruto exactly how much he actually knows about this whole situation, and Boruto doesn't really answer him. He just kind of looks off into the distance. Ino as well is kind of interested in this, because keep in mind, Ino is listening to this entire conversation, as she's the one who's keeping the line of communication open between Shikamaru and Boruto. But Boruto doesn't answer to that question. He just kind of stands there, doesn't really say much. And we already seen in previous chapters that it does seem like Boruto has some knowledge of the future events. Whether or not it's due to Momoshiki, maybe the Jogan, if that ever decides to come back or not. We don't know what yet, but we do know that Boruto has some knowledge of the future. Maybe it's just really great intel he's received from Kashikoji, as we know he's been working with him, or maybe it's something him and Sasuke found. We're not exactly sure, but it does seem like Boruto is operating with the sense of he knows where the future is going, and he's trying to prevent a certain path from happening. What exactly that path is, we don't know. But this just leads to more evidence, in my opinion, that Boruto does know a little bit about the future. Then Shikamaru gets interrupted by the sensory team, not from Ino, from another member of the sensory team, saying that Kawaki's trying to connect with him. Shikamaru asks Ino, hey, if I connect Kawaki, is he going to be able to hear me and Boruto? Is Boruto going to be able to hear me and Kawaki? Ino says no, each of them are individual and separate. The only person who would hear both lines is you, Shikamaru. Ino wouldn't hear both of them because Ino is holding the line open for Boruto and Shikamaru, while the other member of the sensory team is holding the line open for Kawaki and Shikamaru. So the only person here that would be hearing both lines would be Shikamaru. Ino nor the sensory team member would be able to hear them. So knowing that now, Shikamaru tells the sensory team to go ahead and patch Kawaki through. Kawaki proceeds to tell Shikamaru he knows where Boruto is, and in order to tell or give a hint to Boruto that Kawaki's on his, like, heading towards his location, because keep in mind, if Shikamaru talks, both Boruto and Kawaki would hear it. Whatever Shikamaru says, Boruto and Kawaki would both hear it. But whatever Boruto says, Kawaki won't hear, and whatever Kawaki says, Boruto doesn't hear. So Shikamaru has to be careful about what he says here. So essentially, he just says the southern woodlands, which is where Boruto is right now, and he basically says, what could Boruto be doing there, to answer Kawaki. Now at this point, Boruto perks up, and he starts paying attention carefully to what Shikamaru is saying. Kawaki says it doesn't matter what Boruto's doing. He's going to have Delta attack Boruto first from above, and then Kawaki will follow up in order to pinch him in. Shikamaru then tells him to calm down, that Boruto is stronger, and to wait for backup. Kawaki says, no, I'm not going to wait for backup. Do you want him to get away? He's basically questioning Shikamaru, like, are you trying to give him a chance to get away or just leave without any repercussions? And then Boruto, not even waiting to hear the rest of the conversation, or waiting to hear more from Shikamaru as he seemingly has picked up on what is going on, he tells Shikamaru he'll see him later and that he'll be in touch. And then he uses Flash Thunder God to go ahead and just teleport out. Delta then proceeds to ask Kawaki that if they're almost there. And then before she knows it, Kawaki just hits on the brakes. And Kawaki says that it's odd that he doesn't sense Boruto anymore. Delta says, well, maybe he sensed you coming, because if you remember correctly, Boruto and Kawaki are able to sense each other due to the Otosuki powers. Kawaki says no, that he hasn't felt Boruto's aura once, so Boruto must not be able to sense Kawaki at that very moment either, that they're both erasing their signatures in order to prevent each other from tracking each other. Which seems a little odd to be saying right now, because Kawaki just hit the brakes because he didn't sense Boruto. But then he says immediately after that he hasn't felt him. So I'm a little lost on what happened there. But regardless, Kawaki says that Boruto just disappeared before he even knew Kawaki was going to be coming. Delta says that's unlucky of him, but Kawaki gives a very deep glare. He's just kind of looking off in the distance. And the next panel shows Shikamaru. So it seems like Kawaki might be thinking, or maybe there's a small part of him that's thinking is it possible that Shikamaru warned him? Considering how Shikamaru was the one trying to convince him to, pull back, wait for backup, not approach him immediately. So maybe Kawaki's kind of thinking is Shikamaru working against me? Or does Shikamaru find a way to warn Boruto? We cut back to where Ada is, and we see that Mitsuki has come back to the house that they were staying at. Mitsuki walks up to the balcony and apologizes to Ada because he didn't realize that Ada and Damon were up there. And then Ada basically says, what you did to Kawaki of knocking him out with the snake poison to go to Boruto by himself was completely surprising. Mitsuki then proceeds to ask, was Kawaki mad at me? Ada says it's kind of hard to say. Basically, he wanted to know where you were, but all he was after was Boruto, and in the moment he knew where you were, he took off. Mitsuki then just kind of sighs and says that he feels like Kawaki thinks it's a waste of time to get mad at Mitsuki. And then Damon proceeds to speak up and say, doesn't that make you sad, Mitsuki, that Kawaki, you know, doesn't care about you or doesn't think that you're important to waste time on? And Mitsuki replies in a way that continues on from the previous chapter in the conversation that him and Boruto had about Kawaki being his son. And he says that, no, not really. That in itself doesn't matter to me because he's already felt that way for a while, that Kawaki doesn't really think Mitsuki's worth the time anymore, or ever was. Mitsuki then proceeds to go in a very interesting topic. I was not expecting this type of conversation to happen in this chapter, but I feel like it's honestly kind of not needed, but I feel like later on this conversation will become more important in Mitsuki's story. You know, this will be a moment we look back on and be like, oh, this is where the setup, like a lot of this stuff ended up paying off, you know? But essentially he says, Ada, until I met you, I didn't know the emotion that we call love. Ada gets a little creeped out by this and basically says to Mitsuki, if you're hitting on me, it's a waste of your time. Mitsuki says, no, I know that me hitting on you would be a result of your ability. I'm not hitting on you, I'm simply saying thank you. Because if it wasn't for Ada, Mitsuki thinks he might have never experienced love in his life at all. Damon seems a little confused by this. He just kind of gives a blank look and doesn't really say much to Mitsuki. And then Mitsuki proceeds to continue on, saying that he thinks it's because he's an artificial person created from scratch for Orochimaru's experiments that he didn't really understand what love was or what it is, and how he thinks he doesn't even understand himself. But he said that these points didn't matter as long as he had his son, which was Kawaki/Boruto. Because the sun would illuminate him and kind of hide these dark parts of himself, essentially. Mitsuki then proceeds to say that most things in life didn't matter to him, including himself, because he had a son. But then Mitsuki proceeds to say that this line of thinking was wrong, which I think is huge, because Mitsuki's entire character from the pre-time skip to the time skip, even in the anime, they really hammer this home, that Mitsuki relies on his son. Mitsuki revolves around the sun, his son, you know? That's what drives him, what makes him want to live. So the fact that he's now saying that he was wrong in that type of thinking is huge for his character. Which, I mean, we kind of knew he was already thinking at the end of the last chapter after his conversation with Boruto. But to see him actually admit it straight up, especially to Ada, who he doesn't really have to talk to, but yet he is really huge in my opinion. Big moment for Mitsuki. Mitsuki then proceeds to talk about how if he doesn't give himself any affirmation first, he'll forget who his son is before he's even aware of it. So yeah, Mitsuki basically says if he's not sure of it himself, he's gonna lose sight of what the most important thing is before he's even aware of it. Ada then proceeds to ask Mitsuki if it's that Boruto made you realize this and how great that is. Then Mitsuki proceeds to say that this might be presumptuous or like kind of, you know, getting ahead of himself a little bit, but he thinks that him and Ada are similar. Mitsuki then, this is a very interesting line to me. Mitsuki proceeds to say, I don't know why I love Kawaki. Damon perks up when he says this, and then Ada starts paying even more attention to Mitsuki after he said this. But Mitsuki then proceeds to keep saying, but that's what love is. Your chest tightens just thinking about him. It doesn't really matter why it happens. Sorry, not Mitsuki. Ada says that to Mitsuki in response to him saying he doesn't know why, but he loves Kawaki. Ada then says that you can't understand what true love is because my ability causes you to experience false love. Mitsuki agrees with her and says, yeah, you might be right, but that he's scared. Sorry, let me backtrack on that. Basically, Ada tells him, you don't know what love is because my ability causes you to experience false love towards me. You know, like towards Ada. So just because he knows what false love towards Ada feels like doesn't mean he knows what true love feels like. Mitsuki agrees with this and says that, yeah, you might be right, Then Mitsuki proceeds to say that he was just scared that he realized that his son may not be who it is, and then he got afraid of losing his son. So basically he's saying he's scared that Kawaki was not his actual son, and now he's afraid that he lost his actual son, which we know is Boruto. After realizing this, he stopped thinking about whether or not the sun was a real thing. So it's not that his son is an actual person, it's more like a thing, or just like a feeling that he's following love. That love is his son. At least that's the way I'm kind of interpreting this line. Ada then replies to him, so you're saying that I'm the same, that I'm a foolish girl who's in love with being in love. So basically Mitsuki's kind of challenging her a little bit, saying that you don't love Kawaki, you love the feeling of thinking you're in love with Kawaki, is essentially what he's saying. But then Mitsuki says he didn't mean it like that. That he's sorry, he was just kind of being presumptuous. Then Ada says, maybe. But then she asks to be blunt with Mitsuki, in which she says, we're talking about love right now, talk about drama. I feel like this is just a way of Ada kind of, not breaking the ice, but just kind of cutting the tension. Because it does seem like the conversation was kind of heading towards a point where Ada was getting really uncomfortable. So she went ahead and just kind of cut it with this joke. Damon was kind of shocked by this as well, as he just kind of gives a look like, what? And then Mitsuki kind of realizes what's going on and says, well, yeah, I suppose it doesn't matter. And they kind of just dropped the subject. But yeah, this whole conversation might not seem like too much right now, but I feel like later in the future, there's going to be this whole conversation is going to be a very big, important part of Mitsuki and maybe even Ada's like overall arc. At least for Mitsuki already, I feel like it's pretty big. Look into his thought process right now and how big it's changed recently. And I feel like for Ada, this conversation is going to stick with her for a while. And I feel like it might be the motivation for some of the future actions she might be taking, which we get a sneak peek of here in the next panel, as it cuts back to Boruto when he said to Mitsuki, I'm your son, it's that simple. And then we see Ada, and she thinks to herself that she wants to have a long talk with Boruto. Could it be possible that maybe in the next couple of chapters we get a conversation between Boruto and Ada themselves? Maybe Ada and Damon leave the village to go find Boruto, so that way Ada can get some answers or get this conversation that she wants, or maybe this will be something that comes back later down the line. We're not sure, but it's something very interesting to set up here. I am looking forward to see where this goes, because I didn't think this conversation would, one, even happen, and two, the characters this conversation would be happening with being Mitsuki and Ada. The fact that it's Mitsuki is very interesting to me, but it makes sense the more I reread it, that it's Mitsuki himself that has this talk with her. But regardless, I'm excited to see where this plotline goes. But now we move on to the Senjus, as we see Hidari and I believe the main Senju, I think his name is Jura, I think it's what people have been saying it is. So we have Hidari, the Sasuke clone, and then Jura, who we don't know who he's a clone of. Some say it's the Ten Tails himself, and it's just imitating Jigen, because Jigen is the person he looks like the most. But we're not exactly sure. But anyways, we cut to them. Jura basically says it should be time to Hidari. He leans himself back into the cube that it's sitting behind him, so that way he can look through one of the clawgrams that has been traveling through the woods. And he tells Hidari, alright, it's time, let's go. They then proceed to teleport through the clawgram using Code's technique with the belts. And then we see, as they come out of the clawgram took them right to the front gate of the Hidden Leaf Village. We then cut immediately back to Shikamaru and Ino as they kind of discuss the aftermath of the conversation that they had with Boruto. And Shikamaru basically says, hey, remember, top secret, between me and you only, don't tell anyone else, regardless of what your own personal opinion is. Ino says, I know it's top secret, but do you believe it? I just find it hard to believe. And then before she can even finish that thought, the sensory team alerts Shikamaru about the Shinju coming in, as they picked up the chakra signatures, and they continue to hide the identity of Jura. We know that he's not someone from the Hidden Leaf Village because the sensory team has every chakra signature in the Hidden Leaf Village marked in like a database, so they know who's who. They say that one chakra signature is unknown, and that the other one is a match for Sasuke Uchiha. So obviously Sasuke Uchiha's signature would be coming from Hidari, because Hidari is the clone of Sasuke, made from his tree. So we know Jura is not someone from the Leaf Village. So they're still keeping that under wraps. I do think Jura is just the Ten Tails itself as a person. I feel like that makes the most sense to me, but who knows? Maybe they'll reveal it in the next chapter, in a later chapter, who he really is. But for now, we still don't know. But anyways, the sensory team is telling everyone, basically, hey, we have trespassers. They're near the gates. Sarada, of course, picks up on this transmission. And she realizes, wait, my dad is here? Like, his chakra signature is here? We then cut back to Hidari and Jura. Hidari is asking Jura, where is he? Where is Uzumaki Naruto? Jura basically says, I don't know where Naruto is, but I can sense him, I can tell. Then we have a bunch of Hidden Leaf Shinobi show up and tell them to stop. If they move forward anymore, they'll be considered enemies and killed on the spot. One of the Shinobis asks if Hidari is Sasuke Uchiha and why he's here. So I guess they can't tell that's not actually Sasuke, or at least from the position they're at, they can't fully say like that's Sasuke Uchiha or not, because I feel like looking at Hidari, you'd be able to tell like, oh, this is not Sasuke. He looks like Sasuke, but he's not Sasuke. But regardless, the Shinobi, the Hidden Leaf Shinobi think it is Sasuke. The sensory team basically asks Shikamaru like, hey, what do we do? Shikamaru says, follow protocol, get the civilians out of the village. Ada then proceeds to chime in to Shikamaru to basically tell him something. Shikamaru says, sorry, but I'm busy, I'll get in touch later. Ada says, it's about the trespassers. I saw them a little while earlier, and she apologizes for not reporting it sooner. And she tells Shikamaru that they're the Ten Tails. And she doesn't know how, but they're self-aware. And then the next panel that follows is a very gruesome panel. Ada says that they're enemies of Konoha, and the Hidden Leaf Shinobi that greeted them at the front gates are all shown to be stabbed by a bunch of wooden-style spikes. It's a very gruesome looking scene, but very obvious that these Ten-Tail enemies are extremely strong. They took out these Shinobi with no issues. Looks like the fight was over in a flash, honestly, so we know that they're extremely strong. They continue on into the village, and then Jura tells Hidari, hey look, a bookshop with rare books. They then proceed to walk into the bookshop. So we continue to see that Jura is very fond of books. We saw him in the last chapter reading books. We saw him putting the books down before they came to the Hidden Leaf Village in this chapter. So he's very fond of books. He walks in there, says how this is great, this is so unexpected, that finding this bookstore is promising. Hidari then asks once more, so Uzumaki Naruto, he's in here in the bookstore? And then Jura, with a sense of sarcasm, basically says, I'm surprised you're asking that with a straight face. So Hidari seems dead set on finding Naruto no matter what, even more dead set than Jura. Jura seems like he's just kind of enjoying life, I want to say. Like he has this hobby of reading books, finds his bookstore, and he just instantly forgets about Naruto. He's just like, yo, let me check out this bookstore. And I find that interesting that Hidari just seems dead set on the goal of Uzumaki Naruto. When we first met Hidari, he said that his target would be Sarada Uchiha. But yet now he's mainly focused on Uzumaki Naruto. So I'm wondering if Jura is if Jura is who I think he is, which is just the Ten Tails himself, just as a human form. I'm wondering if he's influencing the other clones. So since Jura wants Naruto to be his target, now the other clones are starting to get to the point where like, yes, we want to find Uzumaki Naruto as well, rather than focusing on their original targets. Because Hidari has only been asking about Uzumaki Naruto. He has not asked about Sarada at all. We then cut to Hidari picking up on something, and he dodges out of the way of black rods. These black rods, of course, being Ishiki's technique, so if they're here, then you know who showed up. Kawaki. Kawaki comes flying in and delivers a big kick to Hidari. It sends him flying back. Delta arrives right behind Kawaki. And Kawaki proceeds to ask the two clones who they are and why they came to the Hidden Leaf Village. Jura comes out a little upset with Kawaki, saying, "Don't fight in front of the bookstore. You're gonna damage or end up destroying the bookstore." He gets upset. He even calls Kawaki out by his name here, so he knows who Kawaki is. He then proceeds to trap Kawaki in a structure of wood, very reminiscent of what he just used to kill the Hidden Leaf Shinobi. Kawaki, however, wasn't killed by this. He was just kind of trapped. Jura then goes to maybe punch or kick him. Not really, can't really tell with the way the panel's made. And then Kawaki uses the Eye of Ishiki to shrink himself before Jura can deliver a big kick that completely destroys the trap that Kawaki was in. Kawaki then appears behind Jura with his karma activated. Not fully activated because the horn isn't out, but he does have the tattoo mark going up around his eyes. He then tries to attack Jura with his transformed arm. Jura turns around and instantly breaks the arm with one punch. This shocks Kawaki. Jura then proceeds to tell him that I won't kill you yet, so basically go sit down. He then knocks Kawaki away, and Kawaki goes flying and slams into a water tower and just sits there knocked out. Delta flies after Kawaki to help him. Then Jura detects something. He looks off into the distance and he says, "There you are, Uzumaki Naruto." Now, when I first read this, I thought he meant like maybe he was feeling Naruto's chakra through Kawaki. Since Kawaki had just activated his eye, maybe Naruto's chakra like somehow came out and Jura was able to sense the dimension he was in. But in the panel where he looks off in the distance, he's not looking at the water tower that Kawaki got slammed into. He's looking far off into the distance, somewhere else in the Leaf Village. So, what is he looking at? Next panel, we cut to Delta trying to wake Kawaki up. So Kawaki's completely knocked out again. So Kawaki obviously is just getting outmatched first by Mitsuki, now Jura. It's not looking good for Kawaki. Jura then calls to Hidari and says he's here. Naruto's close by. Hidari says, "Are you sure about that?" And then Jura says that Naruto is a Jinjuriki who bears a Biju, or like a tailed beast, basically. As Jura says, as I'm an incarnation of a fellow tailed beast, I can sense the tailed beast chakra dwelling inside of him. Interesting. We all know that Kurama is dead from pre-time skip due to the Baryon mode. So what is he sensing? Because he can't be sensing Naruto, because Naruto wouldn't have Nine Tails chakra anymore. Plus, Naruto's not even in the same dimension. We then cut to Sarada, who's playing back the words of the Sensory team, saying that the chakra is a match for Sasuke. She then remembers that Boruto says that Sasuke was absorbed by the Ten Tails, and Sarada is asking herself, what's going on? Who is it that came to Konoha that has my dad's chakra? We then cut to Team Inoshikacho with Himawari with them, and Shikadai says, "Hey, listen up, even if it is Sasuke, don't hesitate to fight him. Sasuke's a traitor, he left with Boruto, remember that." Inojin then tells Himawari, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." I find it weird that Himawari is coming with them to begin with, because I know she showed up in the previous chapters when the Claw Grimes and Code attacked, but I just feel like I don't think they've said if Himawari is a ninja yet, so why would she be with Team Inoshika all the time? You know, it just, especially in this situation, I feel like they would tell her to, like, you know, go back, don't come with us, this is dangerous, but Nope, she's coming with them. And then for our last 2 pages, we have Jura fly down right in front of Team Ina Shikachoi, Hidari right behind them. They come to a face-off. Jura then glares down Himawari. Hidari asks, so which one is he? Which one is Uzumaki Naruto? Jura then says this is odd. What in the world is going on here? With the final panel of the chapter being a focus shot on Himawari. So it seems like Jura wasn't picking up on Naruto. Jura was actually detecting the chakra or the energy of Himawari. And that is where the chapter ends. Very big cliffhanger. Very big cliffhanger. Now, some of you might be thinking like, oh, you know, it's just Himawari just has some Naruto chakra in her. That's why he sensed Naruto. But here's the thing. It's not that he was sensing Naruto's chakra. Jura was sensing the chakra of a tailed beast. That's what he was using to chase Naruto. Plus, before the time skip happened, we had that whole incident with Damon and Himawari, where Damon felt this immense power in the Hidden Leaf Village and he just had to track it down. And when he tracked it down, it was Himawari, and Damon was actually scared or shocked by Himawari, wondering what she was or what power she had in her. And now we have Jura here, essentially doing the same thing, sensing this immense power or this tail beast power coming from Himawari, and not understanding exactly what it is. So it seems like, I thought this was going to be something we wouldn't get an answer to until later on in the series, but it seems like we're setting up to figure out what exactly is going on with Himawari. Now, there could be a couple theories or answers. You know, maybe Himawari has Kurama in her now? Because if you remember right, when tail beasts die, they don't actually die. They just like dissipate and then they eventually reform again. So is it possible that Kurama is starting to reform within inside Himawari? And that's what Jura's picking up? Or does Himawari have some tail beast energy inside of her because she is the son of, or the daughter of Naruto? It's weird that it's not picked up from Boruto though, so I don't think it's something from the genetics. I really don't know where they're gonna take this. It's very interesting. I know I've seen some people say that, well, Naruto had a little bit of chakra from all the tailed beasts, so is it possible that Himawari has inherited, you know, all of the energy of the tailed beast, and now she technically has all, you know, like all 9 tails, like the 9, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, you know, so on and so on. Does she have a little bit of all their chakra inside of her, and it's been growing as she's been getting older and learning how to control her chakra and gain more chakra? That chakra inside of her has been growing as well. I know that's been some theories that people have been throwing around. I think the easy answer here would be that Kurama is being reborn inside of Himawari. For what reason exactly, I don't know, because I believe they said that tail beasts are reborn out in the wild. So it'd be kind of odd if Kurama was reborn inside of Himawari again, but you never know. The connection that Naruto and Kurama had is one that no tail beast essentially had before with other Jinchuriki. So it's really interesting. In the anime, we had that whole filler arcs, or that, I don't want to say filler, but we had those arcs, like those episodes with Himawari and the one-tailed beast, Gaara's tailed beast. I'm blanking on his name. The Shukaku, I think is what his name was. I feel like I just butchered his name, but maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe the anime was foreshadowing something way advanced, way ahead of time. Maybe it's something that Kishimoto saw in the anime and decided to bring back for the manga. Who knows? There's 100 different ways they can go with this. But I do feel like we'll get more of an answer in the next chapter. Maybe not the full answer. Maybe not the full answer, but we'll get a better idea of what exactly is going on with Himawari in the next chapter. In terms of what else might be going on in the next chapter, I don't think we're going to get Boruto in the next chapter. Boruto just left. I don't think he's going to be coming back immediately, because I don't think he'll know about what's going on in the Leaf Village immediately. I think what we're setting up for next chapter is Boruto's out, Kawaki's out of commission, so we're going to be getting Ina Shikacho and Himawari dealing with Jira, and when Sarada and Sumari show up on the scene, Hidari is going to end up focusing on them. I don't know if we'll get full-on fights or maybe just a confrontation where they kind of exchange words, but I feel like that's where we're going for next chapter. I just feel like that's the most logical thing. The next chapter being Ina Shikacho and Himawari against Jura, and Hidari versus Sarada and Sumari. Kawaki and Boruto won't interfere because Kawaki is currently knocked out of commission, and Boruto just left the Hidden Leaf Village and might not make it back in time, or might not be aware of what's going on. So, I mean, that's about it. I don't know if we'll get any more of the whole Mitsuki and Ada thing next chapter. If anything, we maybe Ada and Damon during this whole commotion going on in Leaf Village. Maybe they'll leave the Hidden Leaf Village in order to go talk to Boruto. Maybe Mitsuki will go along with them because Boruto did say, if you ever need a son, just come find me. So maybe that's what happens. Next chapter, we get those two groups fighting or confronting each other. And while that's going on, Damon, Ada, and Mitsuki will all leave the Hidden Leaf Village to go look for Boruto. Could be a possible thing that we're going to be seeing. But other than that, I mean, overall, I enjoyed this chapter. I know it's a lot of setup, but it's a lot of good setup. It really is. We don't need fights every chapter. I mean, we still got a little bit of fighting in this chapter, but we really don't need fights in a lot of chapters. Right now, we kind of need answers and more questions, and that's kind of exactly what we're getting, you know? So I'm excited to see where the next chapter goes. Hopefully, I'll be able to read it earlier. I was really disappointed that I just didn't have time in my schedule to get to this chapter until now, because it is about 2 weeks late at this point. But now we only have 2 more weeks to wait till the next chapter, and about a week and a half to get the sneak peek of the next chapter. So overall, good chapter. I'm still enjoying this manga. I know some people have been saying that the time skip or Two Blue Vortex kind of got boring after the first 4 or 5 chapters, which I know, I mean, we're only on chapter 8, people. I mean, come on. In my opinion, all 8 of the chapters so far released for Two Blue Vortex have all been great, and I am just looking forward to more. I really hope the manga can stay at this level of quality that it's been at, because I feel like the drawings have been on point. I feel like the writing for the most part has been really good. So I'm excited to see where this goes. There's a lot of good setup. But other than that, let me know what y'all think about the chapter, what you think will be happening. I guess before I go, I'll quick give a wild card guess for what will happen in the next chapter. So I guess my wild card, and for anyone who doesn't know, my wild card is basically something that is like the highest chance of it happening is like 1%. Or maybe like 5%. So my wild card prediction, and this one's really wild, hear me out, is that next chapter we see Himawari enter the Nine Tails chakra mode, where we see her go into the Nine Tails rage mode that Naruto used to go into before he learned how to control Kurama. So maybe Himawari will go into the One Tail mode or the Two Tail mode. I don't know. Or maybe she'll just go into the No Tail mode, just the like red chakra flowing around her that Naruto did a lot in the early series, like against Haku, or against, he technically went into it against Gaara, just not full on out. But anyways, I think Himawari, my wildcard guess is that Himawari will enter some form of Nine Tails chakra mode. I really don't think it's going to happen, but that's what a wildcard guess is for. So let me guys know what you guys thought of the chapter, what your wildcard guess is for the next chapter. And if you liked the video, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like as well, as that helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all next time for the next Boruto chapter. As always, God bless, happy gaming, have a good rest of your day/night, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.